And I think it's a good transition when we talk about Jurassic Park to move to the animal issues with Filipa Ferraz de Oliveira. I'm sorry, did you want to answer that? No, good. Okay, so Filipa, she's the head of Health Sciences Department since 2014. She has been a professor in epidemiology, environmental health, and community health at the Lisbon School of Health Technologies. And for the past 14 years, she has worked in the European Commission, and she's now head of sector for ethics at the European Research Council Executive Agency, and that aims to contribute to the organization of the ethical screening and review procedures of research projects. Filipa, you have the floor.
Thank you for the invitation to come here. As Andreas, I'm not a specialist on animal, as you can learn from what was just told. So I'm by training an epidemiologist and working on research ethics since 10 years ago, at least 14, more or less. So I accepted very happily to come here and try to speak a bit about this, because I came to raise questions, not to give answers. So, and my questions can be even a bit naive, but for me, the use of animals in research is linked also with the purpose of going forward with the human research and the other objectives. So this is not totally separate from whatever has been told till now. So from an ignorant point of view, my first question was to crisp or not to crisp. That is the question. And I concluded quickly that that is not the question, that you should not try to get this answer. It's not the appropriate answer. So in fact, I think more and more that we have to include the social debate in the question of use of methodologies to do genome editing. So without doing it, we will end up being driven by the social debate, not directed with our inclusion, and that is the dangerous moment here. So in fact, there's already passionate discussions related to ethics, so ethics passionate discussions about the great hopes to the improvement of human health that we can get from the use of genome editing, the good possibility to the balance of food supply in the world, and also passionate discussions about the risks that we can have in the environment in future because of the intervention we are doing. Looking to this from the ethics point of view, because it's what I'm been doing since more than 10 years ago, it's trying to look to the research ethics questions with, well, you heard I'm working in ERC. European Research Council is the agency that is granting the most challenging ideas in Europe. So of course we have great ideas, taking high risks, proposing high gain, and also going, pushing the ethics questions to the borders too. And so we have to be there following the ethics questions of the research we are granting. And we cannot be there as a police force. And so this is my main message, is that ethics is not there to act as a police force. Instead of asking, what can I do or what can we do in this area or using this methodology, we should be asking, what should I do and how do I do it? Because this is the question that has to be discussed now, also about the genome editing method, technology. So when researching with animals, because now we are more going to the animals area, my questions were more, is the genome editing leading to the use of more or fewer animals in research? This is an objective question that can be asked from the point of view of protecting the animals that are involved in research. So this is one of the questions that we should think about. This, of course, will affect the cost, the efficiency, and the versatility of the research, and will conduct us to protect more or less animals in their suffering. Will the use of CRISPR-Cas9 be consistent with the 3 R's principle? So to the people using animals in research, the 3 R's is something already known, very well known and mandatory. So the use of CRISPR-Cas, would this help us in reduction and refinement or not? And also the other question, will CRISPR-Cas9 increase the use of genome editing in larger animal models? And then we have this hope that could be part of the social debate, in fact, of building big animals, pigs, for example, modified to produce all the organs we need to do transplantation and treat a lot of people. So looking to these questions, I thought that, okay, what we are doing in ERC when we tackle the research involving animals, we are trying to get the researchers following the animal directive. And so I contacted the unit, even the direction that is tackling the implementation of the animals directive in research. And I went there to ask them which problems are they facing with the use of the new technologies and the genome technology. And what I got was a list of confirmation that they think they have already, because in fact they told me, okay, the genome modified animals are not GMOs, but we consider them genetically altered animals, and so we face the use and the production of these animals with the directive we have. And so they told me it's very simple. Creating genetically altered animals is possible and is previewed in the directive. It obliges us to get an authorization, and that's all. So it is covered legally. Breeding of harmful phenotype lines is also previewed because the breeding of the animals is included in directive. And so again, we will need to have the authorization to do it. The genotyping of invasive and not for the purpose of identification is also something that is previewed in the directive, and so obliges to get an authorization, and that's all. The use of these animals, well, they are considered animals as the other animals, and so again they are covered by the directive. And then they said also that all detail about keeping breeding for scientific purpose should comply with directive, including the obligation to apply refinement, meaning that 3 R's are also there. And so this is previewed in the breeding care accommodation practices that are described in the animals directive. Okay, so what issues do they have? So it's also perfect, it's all working well from the animal research point of view. Then I said, okay, but we really have still some problems. And in fact, we have questions being raised about the establishment of the GA line and the related phenotype. Basically, they need to know better what is going on, and so we go back to that idea of having a registry to know what is being produced and done again there. So prospective and actual level of severity of the GA lines is something that they would like to see explored and described. Sharing the information to downstream users on the phenotypes and all the things produced is something that they consider mandatory because it's a way of sparing human lives and not repeating the errors that are being done in other places. So again, it's the reporting question and registering question. So methods of genotyping, of course, that to the ones dealing with the directive, the best practice and refinement should be shared. And so this is the transparency that was already mentioned by the colleagues before, that would be nice also in this domain. The methods of creation, so efficiencies, animal numbers, best practices, and refinement, all these they would like to see described in the projects that are using gene editing methodology with animals. We can continue reading, but it goes all in the same direction. We have some confusion about what is a project, or when the project authorization is required. Also, over-accurate statistical reporting. And this, at the end, affects also the knowledge that they can have about what is being done in genome editing with animals. So, then I thought that you would need to have some reality. Because in fact, 2 years ago when we had, or 1 year and a half, I don't know, when we had the first meeting to discuss the questions of CRISPR-Cas, I produced some slides with the amount of projects we are funding in ERC. At the time was really incredible how we had already so many projects using the genome editing technologies. So now, and I had it till the 2015, starting in 2013, if I'm not wrong, where we had the beginning of the lower numbers being used, beginning of use. So now what we can see, and I put there the numbers of the last year, is that the CRISPR-Cas continue increasing in the use. So Francois even asked me, can you bring examples? I cannot give you the examples because, as you see, the numbers of projects granted in 2017, well, okay, the 16 advanced is the last call, so it's end of 16 really. They are being signed now and they will do their projects in the next 5 years, so not public yet, so I cannot give the examples here because it's not open yet, it's not public. But you can see that we continue raising in numbers of projects being done using the CRISPR-Cas project. Something I can tell you is that in the first years we had also reference to talents and other methodologies. Now all that disappeared. Now it's only CRISPR-Cas9 or 12 or whatever. We started having more and more. Then I had a distribution by scientific domain in ERC, in fact, and I have on the left side the distribution we had at 2015, and now the one we have 2 years after. Did not change a lot. There's some small changes. So mainly all the panels on life sciences have projects in using CRISPR-Cas. So before we had maybe one panel that was not appearing. Now we have all of them, LS1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we have some physics and engineering panels also that it's with a bit more projects than before. So only social sciences is not using the CRISPR-Cas methodology, in fact. But we are all already expecting all kinds of things. Well, then looking to this, that did not change a lot. I tried to get also a distribution, as I had before, about the type of cells that were being modified with the CRISPR-Cas. And again, I have the data from 2015 and from now. And I have to tell that, in fact, here there's some differences in the way this was registered. Let me see, which is this one. Here in 2015, we had some projects using CRISPR-Cas in bacteria and virus. Here is not bacteria and virus, it's microorganisms in general. And it raised significantly. And here we had, I remember, only one project doing CRISPR-Cas in human embryonic stem cells. All the rest were animal stem cells, embryonic stem cells, or the induced pluripotent stem cells. Now the animal and pluripotent are together with either the animal or the human according to the type of cell. And what we have here is only human embryonic stem cells. So only in the last year we had almost 10 proposals.
Can you conclude? Because we are late, a bit late.
Yeah, I will finish. Is the last one, I think. So in fact, we have the large majority of the projects using CRISPR-Cas with animals or animal cells. So that's what I wanted to bring to you, and I think that was the last one. Yes.